Hello, my name is Jeremy, and today I'm going to be talking about The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 8, the mid-season finale. I've been a fan of this show since day one. I remember sitting in my college dorm and I downloaded the entire season. I paid for it ahead of time because I was really excited for a zombie franchise. And I sat in my bed in college, like watching every episode religiously, week after week after week. And I kept up with the show every single episode that came out. And this was the first season, I have to be honest, that I felt a little skeptical after the first episode, after Glenn died and everything happened. I just felt like this season kind of, the phrases jumped the shark. I felt like they tackled way too much and the season felt hopeless. It felt really hard seeing Rick the way that he was and the group being divided and so many filler episodes. I kind of lost a little bit of hope in this season, but the last two episodes have really turned it around. This was a really good way to save this season, which I thought was not really going anywhere. First off, we get another check-in with Maggie, and it's always good to see her again because she seems to be the saving grace, I guess, of the group. She has a lot of that essence that Glenn had, where it was like a breath of fresh air seeing her again. She's definitely having a lot more of a glamorous pregnancy than Lori did. So far on the show, if I'm not mistaken, this is the only other person that has been shown to be pregnant during the apocalypse. The only other person was Lori, who had a really unfortunate, disappointing pregnancy from start to finish, which she doesn't even know who her baby daddy is. And then she's eating scraps, like literally eating like possum as they're traveling from place to place, gives birth in a disgusting, smelly prison, and then dies in childbirth. And yes, Maggie did have some complications, and we don't know how the full extent of the pregnancy is going. But she seems to be living pretty large, taking other people's apples, eating homemade pies. Like, she's having a pretty good pregnancy as far as what you can have in the apocalypse. This episode gave me such a incredible appreciation for Negan as a villain. I think this whole season they've been trying to create a sense of empathy with him, that we as the audience want to like him. And the good thing about Jeffrey Dean Morgan is that he's so fucking lovable. Negan is so fascinating as a character despite all of the horrible things that he does, and having this horde of women that he does bad things to and treats them inappropriately and is super misogynistic towards them and brutal to people that are under him. He's so strangely likable, and I don't know if that's because he as a character is being interestingly written, or if it's because the saviors in general are just such horrible, uninteresting, terrible people that you just want bad things to happen to. And then Negan somehow rises above all of that, and you are more interested in him just based off of the idea that he's better than everybody else that is on his team. But he honestly has the best lines. Your kid hid in a truck, machine gunned some of my men, and I took him home, and I made him spaghetti. That was hands down one of the best lines I think has ever been written by The Walking Dead, purely because it was so funny and it was delivered in such a great way. It could have been one of those lines that just flopped, but Jeffrey Dean Morgan is doing an incredible job at making this character become believable. It was also nice to see a little bit of Carol in this episode after we haven't seen her in a while, though I feel like we're kind of at a crossroad point with Carol, and we need to have more resolve with what's going on with her without dragging the story along. I thought the episode where they talked about the kingdom was interesting as a concept, but it just kind of dragged along for a little longer than it should have, and I think it could have been mixed in with other things. And I'm really interested to see what's happening with Carol, because she seems like she's reverted back to season 1 Carol, where she's really meek and quiet and timid, and she just wants people to leave her alone. She wants to escape from everything, but she knows that there's this evil thing inside of her that is capable of killing and taking people's lives and doing what is necessary to survive in the apocalypse. And I feel like she almost looks at this, I shouldn't say that it's evil, she's looking at it, there's this thing inside of her that drives her to protect herself. And I think she's looking at it almost like she has this power and this control and she can hurt people. And it's like Ed was to her. And I think she's at a crossroads right now where she needs to decide, how did I get here? Who do I want to become? Am I like my husband who beat the crap out of me and my daughter all the time and did these horrible, horrible things? Am I becoming him? And I feel like that's where her character is almost ending right now. And I think she needs to resolve it in herself before she's able to make any decisions, and she needs to be left alone so that she can figure out how she's gotten to the place where she's at. And I feel like going to her and Morgan, they're the worst people to go to be like, you need to convince Ezekiel that we need to fight the Saviors. Like, they're the last people, especially after everything that happened with Carol and the Saviors back at the satellite. They are not the right people, and Carol especially just needs time to figure out what she's doing. Morgan has pretty much drawn the line in the sand and been like, here's where I'm at. I'm not taking any lives because that's the wrong way to do things, and I'm not going to do it anymore. And he's pretty much been like, this is where I'm at, where Carol hasn't quite gotten there yet. She needs to figure it out. What I really greatly appreciated about this episode is that we killed off some kind of tertiary background characters. Like, Spencer, I've been very whatever about since the day that he came on, although his ass in those dress pants were everything. But he's just so extra. Him and his whole family, all of them were so extra. The mom and his dad, who like died after 2 episodes in the show. His brother, who was just a fuckwit. And this whole family is just, they were so extra. And they needed to go. And it was his time, and I was very pleased. And I was kind of surprised that Negan was so quick to be like, I don't like backstabbers. I don't like sneaky underlings. So you're gonna go. But at the same time, Negan has proven again and again and again that he, for some reason, really likes Rick, and he really likes Carl. And I feel like he sees something in himself in them, or some of them inside of him. A little bit of both, perhaps. And I think maybe he's looking at these characters and being like, you could be me, I could be you, if things were different. So I'm going to show you respect, and I'm going to protect your best interest by taking out people who may want to take out you. And granted, Spencer was just not a great character, but it was surprising to see Negan be like, you know what, I'm going to take you out. I'm not going to let you do this to my pal Rick. I don't know. There's something weird about that relationship between him and Rick. And I'm interested to see how that all turns out, because Carl went to the Saviors with the intention of taking out Negan, but he wasn't able to because he saw a father figure in Negan. And I think we saw that in that whole last episode. And I think that's prevented Carl from taking any action towards him. That did not, however, stop Rosita from taking action against him and using the one bullet that she made, or that I should say Eugene made. That was something I was expecting. I was waiting for it to happen. I knew that it was going to, but I didn't expect for Negan to survive it. I didn't think that Lucille would stop a bullet. I didn't think that a wooden bat could stop a bullet, but the bullet didn't seem to be loaded with literally anything. It looked like they just had a hollow shell. So, I mean, I can't field test it myself, but I would imagine that a hollow bullet would probably not even pierce styrofoam. So Negan was very lucky that Eugene is a fucking idiot and he doesn't know how to do anything, including making bullets for a clunky assassination attempt. I do have to give Rosita points though for keeping her hair moisturized and conditioned through the apocalypse and somehow finding a way to give it volume without having flyaways. So congratulations, Rosita. Priorities. And this whole episode kind of wraps a really nice bow around everything that happened with Daryl. He escaped the Saviors. He's back with his group. Everything is right in the world. Eugene is gone. The extra characters are dead. So, like, as far as I'm concerned, things are okay right now. The show has left off on a very positive note, and I feel very good about where it stopped. Because this season was feeling so bleak, and I'm glad that it left on a high note, and I'm excited to see what happens next going on from here, because we have a lot of character development that's been happening this season, a lot of world building, and it'll be interesting to see that it's kind of all coming to a head and it's all culminating together. I just wish, personally, that this season had gone a little bit faster and I could have done with less of the world building and maybe woven some of those stories together into like 2 episodes and then had the rest pick up where this last episode was. Maybe this last episode could have been like episode 5 rather than episode 7, but I'm not a show writer. But yeah, I'm very happy with where the season finale left off. It's going to be a long wait till February and to find out who those boots belong to, but I cannot imagine they lead to a good person. And it'll be really interesting to see what happens with Maggie, because it seems like she's moving her way into leadership, and maybe after she gives birth, then she'll really be able to focus on that, because I think right now she's just focusing on staying strong for her baby and making sure that she delivers and gets to that end point, because that's the only thing she has left of Glenn. And if she loses this baby, what does she have left? She doesn't have anything left of him. And I think she needs to protect herself and protect this child more than anything, because that's what's going to keep her going in the apocalypse. In the same way that Judith and Carl have kind of been Rick's driving force, which, by the way, Rick finally has found his balls. They are back in place, and it looks like he's going to start finally taking action rather than being Negan's bitch, which I'm so happy about. There is a slight possibility that from now until the time that it gets to the mid-season premiere, I might go back and talk about some of the old episodes, like some highlights. We'll see we'll see if that ends up happening, but it's something I'm thinking about. Let me know what you thought about the mid-season finale in the comments below. And at the very worst possible scenario, I will see you all again in February when that mid-season premiere begins. Bye!